Okay, class, I want to go ahead and talk about some recommendations for fat. And we've already mentioned that these are the most important numbers to know that for fat, we need about 20 to 35% of our calories from fat, and then a minimum of 1 gram of fat per kilogram of body weight per day. Those are the really key numbers that you need to know. And when we look at fat, realize fat's important, and we already know this. Fat's important for a lot of different reasons, right? All our cells, our membranes are composed of fat. We have fat in our myelin sheath of our nerves. We have fat. It's used for, you know, for insulation. Lots of reasons to consume fat in our diet. It helps our food taste good, and all these different things. So just know that fat is important. And normally, if you're consuming too much fat and then you're going to be consuming too many calories, that's going to lead us to not being at an optimal body weight. And then if you're not eating enough fat, again, it's important. And you can get, some athletes can get too low of a body fat, and that causes problems with their performance as well. What we also need to know is just how to read a simple nutrition facts panel, and understanding when you're looking at this that you know um, 250 calories in this per serving here, and 110 are coming from fat, and you should be able to know that you can do that calculation to see what percentage that is, and know that total fat here says 12 grams, so you have to multiply that times 9. And if you do that, you're probably not going to get exactly 110 calories, which is always something interesting to point out when we're looking at our nutrition facts panel. But just be able to look at that and understand how to do that math is important. And know that when you're eating fat, in most cases, you're also going to be consuming some carbohydrate and protein. It's not very often that you're going to just consume fat and not get carbohydrate and protein. And this is just a couple examples here. I won't spend much time on it, but when you eat an avocado, yes, it's a great source of healthy fat, and there are 30 grams of fat in one avocado, average size avocado, 300 calories, but you're also going to get some carbs, and you're also going to get some protein. You could say the same throughout all of these different foods, things like nuts, seeds, bacon. Even bacon, it doesn't have any carbs in it, but it does have some protein in it. And then just so, and on down the line. So just know most of the time when you're consuming fat, you're going to be getting a little bit of protein. There may be situations if you're eating, like if you have some bacon grease or something, then maybe you're not getting any protein. But for the most part, when you're eating real food, whole foods, you're going to be getting a little bit of both. And what we see is that if you look at the balance, that the higher carb protein intake typically means that that fat will be lower. Again, not always, but in most cases. If you're eating 50% of your calories from carbohydrate and 20% from protein, let's say, then that only leaves what, 20 or 30% from fat. So it leaves a lower percentage from fat, and this is what's normal. And then, like we said, severe restriction is not recommended because we need fat. And then some athletes can take up to, we gave you the recommendation of a minimum of 1 gram per kg, but some endurance athletes, if you're exercising a whole lot, may be taking even up to 3 grams of fat per kilogram body weight and do just fine with that. And I see this Starbucks, and you underestimate the calories and the amount of fat as well as sugar in some of these drinks and things that we buy at uh, at our local Starbucks and other places too. But again, if you have these endurance athletes that are training for hours and hours a day, they can get away with eating a little bit more fat and not affecting them. And actually, with endurance athletes, I know a lot of them that are really kind of switching more to a higher fat approach so they can use that fat for fuel. And that has worked quite well for some athletes. And just know that fat intake during exercise is not recommended. I think you have one of your quiz questions around this, that it just slows the ability of your body to digest the food that you eat. Most of the time when you're consuming something during exercise, it's going to be in liquid form or in a gel form or something like that. uh, because it's going to be easier to digest. You don't really see, and I've done this because I've been in races. I was in a race in Mexico one year, and they gave peanuts at the aid station. That did not sit too well in the later portions of my run. So just no fat, and I think in the book they talk about gastric emptying, which is the ability of contents from your stomach to be moved into the small intestine. If you eat a lot of fat, it's going to slow that process. Okay. It's going to slow that process down. So that's it for this section. We'll jump into the next section talking about fat utilization during exercise.